Hello, dear listener, dear viewer. My name is Mompoloki Mogobe. Welcome once again to this wonderful podcast of ours, known as Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. As always, I do my best to bring powerful, fresh, and impactful content each and every time. This time around, we're delving into the insurance industry. I've invited to the studio Mr. Denford Paradza, who is an expert in the field of insurance. Welcome, Mr. Paradza.
Thank you.
Yes. He's from a company known as Red Hill and Risk Solutions, and he's going to talk to us about top 10 nuggets about the roles of an insurance broker or an insurance advisor. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Okay, just take a moment to speak to the audience and explain to them where you're from and what your company is all about.
Okay. My name is Denford Paradza. I'm the managing director for Red Hill Risk Solutions. We do short-term and life insurance services for our clients. We are domiciled here in Gaborone.
I like the use of the word domicile. It's typically a legal term, but we know what you mean. You're a resident and you operate from. Let's go right into the meat of the matter, the role and functions of an insurance broker. Let's start with rendering professional advice. Tell us what that is all about and what sort of advice you normally give.
I think as an insurance broker, we provide a service. Maybe before I answer that question, let me first maybe explain what insurance is and what insurance broking is.
Yes.
Then I think it would be a bit easier for the viewers and listeners to understand.
To appreciate, yes.
Insurance, it's simply a risk transfer mechanism where you're transferring a risk from the person who is insured to an insurer. So you'll find that, like I said, it's a risk management mechanism. Risk management in itself is a process where you identify, you control, you manage your risk. And then at the end of the process, you transfer the risk to another party. And then, so insurance broker basically is an intermediary who acts on behalf of the insurer and also on behalf of the client. On behalf of the insurer, in case the broker is selling the products that are provided by the insurer, and then for the insured, because you are representing the interests of the insured, because they are the consumers of the insurance product.
So you normally give advice in what form?
Yes, basically our professional advice goes to the client, to the insured. We provide them with the information of their risk exposures for their business or as an individual. We identify this is the type of risks that are likely to be prone to your business. This is how you can manage them. This is how you can transfer the risk to the insurance company.
Okay.
Yes.
The next point I want us to talk about is educating the entrepreneur on insurance. This one is of special interest to me because one of our former presidents, Festus Mogai, used to say that you only, the army is like a bit like insurance. You only appreciate the importance of the army when there's a war.
Yes.
Similarly with insurance, you only notice that you need them when there's a fire, when something terrible happens. But otherwise it seems like a redundant thing. It seems like a waste of money. So in terms of educating the entrepreneur on insurance and risk management, what does your company do and what can you add?
You see, Mr. Mogobe, an insurance product or a contract in itself is a very complex product. Why? Because it's a combination of mathematics, accounting, law, and to some extent even sciences. So you find that the client who is consuming the product doesn't have much knowledge about the product that they are consuming. So what happens is the broker has to come and educate the client. This is the contract that you are about to enter into. These are the terms and conditions, so that at least, since the client is the layman, because you find that, and usually there is a knowledge gap that exists between the person who is buying the product and the person who is selling it. So our role now, we come to bridge that gap because we're a broker and intermediary. You go to the client, you explain these are the terms and conditions. This is what we have to do for your policy to be valid.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Interesting. You also have a function of monitoring, monitoring insurers and underwriters. How does the monitoring work, and how is that function regulated?
Mm-hmm. You see, it's critical for us, for an insurance broker, to make sure that you are placing or insuring your client with underwriters or insurers who are financially stable, who have got a good credit rating, who have good claims payment records. So what we do as brokers, we monitor how they pay claims, how they are faring, any news, anything from our regulator, which is NBFIRA, to say this is what is happening with this insurance company. If need be, then as a broker, you would recommend to the client to say, perhaps probably we have to move from insurer A to insurer B, so that we protect their interest.
There's a thing also, while still on this point, called reinsurance. What is that all about? What's reinsurance?
Reinsurance, basically, you are insuring the insurer.
Mm-hmm.
If I'll take, for example, you, Mr. Mogobe, if you come to us and we insure your properties, those properties are insured by an insurance company. But insurance companies also, they have their own insurance. That's why we call them reinsurers. Mm-hmm. They are also insured because in most cases they might not have the capacity mm-hmm. to absorb a claim or a risk. So what do? They share the risk with other. They could be insurers or reinsurers. It also goes to retrocession.
Mm-hmm. What is that? That's a very fancy word.
The reinsurers also, they also get reinsured.
Mm-hmm. So there are 3 layers.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Now, to correct cover placement, that's one of the other functions that you are involved in. Mm-hmm. What are the circumstances under which cover placement has to be corrected?
You see, since I had indicated that the client doesn't have much knowledge about the product, so it is the role for
the average member of the public is clueless.
Mm-hmm. So the role of the broker has to make sure that the client gets cover that is relevant to their line of business, that is relevant to what they are doing, to make sure that they optimize the cover. Because you find that if a client, for example, would go directly, for example, to an insurance company, mm-hmm. insurers perhaps at times might not have all that time to go into detail. So us as brokers, we go into detail step by step. We try and look for all the risk exposures that we have. We look at the risks that are insurable. Mm-hmm. We look at the risks that are uninsurable. And then it is also our role as well to communicate to the client to say, these risks, we cannot insure them because they are uninsurable. Mm-hmm. It's very important. That's what, because you find that in most cases, clients end up with sour grapes because the broker hasn't explained that this.
Give me an example just while you're there of risks that are uninsurable.
Okay, I can give you, for example, for motor insurance, mm-hmm. I can give an example of risks that are not covered under insurance policy. For example, if there's a mechanical fault, mm-hmm. and then it causes an accident, that is excluded under an insurance contract. So you find that in most cases, a broker has to explain to the client, you are covered in the event of an accident, in the event of a car hijack, in the event of all these things happening. But if the accident is caused by a mechanical or electrical fault, for example, mm-hmm. there's no cover. So that at least you prepare the client for any eventuality.
All right. Item number 4 I want us to cover has to do with claim support. Mm-hmm. One of the things you do is offer support for claims. First, what is claim support? Secondly, how do you go about providing that support?
The fundamental of insurance, or for insurance client, when they come and say they want to insure their asset or life insurance, they are anticipating that in the event that a loss occurs, they have to be compensated. So it is our duty, or it is the duty of the broker rather, to make sure that you assist the client in the event of a loss, in the process, what they have to do, the procedures, the documents that they have to bring, to make sure that their claims are processed at the most timeliness period possible.
So you're like an intermediary who does the running around on behalf of the client?
Yes.
Okay.
The broker has to make sure that the client is always comfortable, the client is happy, the client, the claims are processed as soon as possible. Because, for example, if someone's an entrepreneur and the building is, perhaps, I'm going to use your example, you're a property investor, there is a fire, you expect your claim to be processed as quick as possible. Why? Because you're most likely going to lose rent, for example, from your tenants. Yes, perhaps it is an insurable risk, loss of rent, but you're likely going to lose even the value for the property.
Yes.
So we have to make sure that if we say our timeline.
Incidentally, just whilst we're there, our properties, are they covered for rent risk in the event that there's a fire? Are we going to be covered?
Yes, if you have a fire policy, for example, perhaps your broker would include a cover called business interruption, which caters for the loss of rent in the event that there's a fire or a storm, or in the event that anything happens that makes you not to use the property, or your tenants not to use the property for a certain period of time. I think it should be 12 months.
Let's talk about another aspect of your job, which is a market scan. What is a market scan?
All right. Insurance.
When I think of scans, I think of something in the hospital.
Okay. Insurance broker deals with a number of insurance companies. Let me give an example of short-term insurance. Let's say in Botswana, probably there were 7 or 8 insurance companies. So when a client comes to a broker and is seeking for insurance product, it is the duty for the broker to go into the market or to go to source quotations on your behalf. Then you compare and contrast the terms and conditions, the price, all those things, to make sure that you come up with the best combination of cover.
And the lowest is not always the best.
Yes. You see, it's also our role to explain to the client, to say, okay, if you want something that is cheap, this could be the consequences. But we try as much as possible to optimize cover, to make sure that all the time.
Sometimes it's not just cheap in price, it's also cheap in value.
Yes.
So you get a very cheap product.
And also to add on that, it saves an entrepreneur or a businessman time to run around looking for quotations, comparing, because the broker will come to you with that scan. They say 4 insurers, Mr. Mogobe, these are the insurers that we have approached. A is quoting 150, these are the terms and conditions. B is quoting 200, C is quoting 300. And then Mr. Mogobe would make a well-informed decision.
Okay.
Yes.
One of the other things is to avoid extra cost for the entrepreneur. How do you save the entrepreneur from incurring extra costs?
You see, basically there's a myth that brokers, if you insure with a broker, you are going to be charged more. Rather, you can go direct to insurance company and get your insurance.
Well, the talk is that you eliminate the middleman. You go straight to, that's what the thinking is.
Yes, but you realize that a broker is not remunerated by the client. A broker is paid a commission by the insurer. Because remember, I indicated earlier on that a broker also acts on behalf of the insurance company. He's got also duties and roles. One of them, which is collecting premiums on behalf of the insurer, selling and marketing products for the insurer. So you'll find that when you do that, it optimizes the relationship. Since the broker is the middleman, you keep the insurer happy, and also at the same time you keep the insured happy as well.
Now let's talk about trends. This is number 8 of what we're going to discuss. you watch out for trends and you advise on trends. Tell us what are the current trends and what exactly you mean by insurance trends.
You see, insurance, like I said, it's a combination of a number of things. I said it's a complex product. You find that almost anything can affect insurance contract. Like right now we've got the coronavirus. Obviously, it has an impact on how life insurance, for example, is going to be underwritten. The price for life insurance, the price for medical aid, for example, in China or Asia, for example. So what we do, for example, and also cyber risk, I think for the past, 10 or 15 years, due to information technology and development, you find that the businesses, they are facing higher risk exposures in that area. So what we do, a broker has to look at the profile for the client. What do they do? Are they most susceptible to cyber bullying or cyber attacks? How can they manage the risk? How can they transfer it to insure? So a broker always has to make sure that on a daily basis you are in touch with reality, you are in touch with what is happening.
Just to make your point clear, how does the coronavirus affect insurance premiums or rates?
Basically, we're looking at the mortality rate. Chances are high that people are going to die because of this virus. Because I think in the morning I checked now, I think about 170 people have died in China alone. So obviously in China, it's going to have an impact on the pricing, on how a life policy is going to be underwritten. For example, medical aid. They are going obviously to look at the contract where they can try and adjust to make sure that clients.
I thought as long as you avoid eating bats and snakes, you're safe.
but look in China, their culture, they do eat those kind of things. It's also cultural. Yes, sir.
All right. I want us to get to the close of our conversation, but I want us to talk about things like portfolio management. You are an expert also in portfolio management. Explain to the listener, to the viewer, what is that and how can you add value?
Okay. Portfolio management in the context of insurance. I would use you for example, as a client.
I keep getting used as a guinea pig.
Yeah.
in this interview.
So what we do, a portfolio, you look at the premiums that a client is paying, you look at the claims that come in a year. So what a broker does, probably on a quarterly basis or biannual basis or once a year, the broker has to keep a record. Mr. Mogobe has paid 150,000 pula. Mr. Mogobe has claimed 250,000 in 12 months. Then what that means is we come up with a loss ratio. That is the relationship of your claims against your premium that you have paid.
Okay.
So in this case, it would mean that your loss ratio is more than 100%. You have claimed more than you have paid in premium. So what we do, we conscientize the client. This is conscientize the client. Usually we do, the brokers would have to do it quarterly or biannually. To say, Mr. Mogobe, when we get to renewal, there is a chance that premiums can be reviewed. Terms and conditions for your insurance contract can be reviewed because of the performance of your portfolio.
Particularly not claiming.
Yes. And then there's also the other side. We can say you have paid 150, and let's say for the past 5 years you've only claimed 10,000 pula. We also look at that. Then we go to the insurer, try and negotiate for better rates in terms for your portfolio, because obviously you also have to benefit. If you have been managing your risks properly and you're managing your losses, you also have to benefit in terms of better terms and conditions, lower rates in terms of premiums. So this is the kind of management that we do, because you find that in most cases clients usually they get shocks. It's renewal time, a month before renewal. Mr. Mogobe, last year you paid 150. This year you're going to pay 400. It becomes a problem.
Yeah.
But at times, a broker has to do it quarterly or annually. You prepare the client. So in the event that we get to the renewal date, for example, you are anticipating that perhaps because of my performance on my portfolio, premiums can go up.
The 10th nugget that I want us to share and discuss is that of simplifying insurance contracts. By simplifying them, you mean what? Rewriting them, or just going through line by line, converting it, the contract from legalese to simple language?
Yes, because you see that the insurance contract, like I said, it's very technical. It's a complex one, and you are dealing with a layman. So what we do when the client finally takes up a policy, for example, what we'll simply do is we come up with a summary. A broker comes up with a summary. This summary would explain, in a layman's point of view, what you are covered for, what is not covered, so that it supports the document that you have been given, or the contract that you've been given. Because in most cases, the document that the client gets, the client is a layman, it can be difficult to interpret.
I understand. All right, let's leave our audience with a bonus, the subject of facilitation of financial what?
Intermediation.
Yes, yeah, fancy word.
Yeah.
What is that?
You see, insurance in itself, it works as a financial intermediary, so to say. You have a client who, for example, needs funding for a project, or a client needs an advance payment, for example, for a project from the principal. For them to get that advance, they have to come to an insurance broker to get a bond, for example. We call it an advance payment bond. So simply what the broker will have done, the broker has facilitated an intermediation. In other words, movement of money from point A to point B.
Yes.
Then I can give another example. A person needs to build a house, or to buy a house. The bank would say, we need you to get a mortgage insurance or life insurance. So that person would come to the broker. The broker facilitates, and then the client gets that mortgage insurance. And then the client can access funding. So you find that as the insurance industry, we play that role for financial intermediation, movement of money from point A to point B. I can even expand further in terms of even development projects.
Yes.
There are some projects which probably would require, let's say, 500 million, for example. You'll find that you have your financier or your funder or your bank, but they will say, for us to work with you, we need some form of financial guarantee. So first thing, you go to your broker, you discuss with your broker, this is what I want. Can you source a financial guarantee for me in favor of the bank or the financier? Then when that is done, you have unlocked potential for entrepreneur, you have unlocked funding for a project.
Wow.
So this creates a multiplier effect.
Yes.
Because when that transaction is done, Mr. Mogobe can employ 100 people more.
It benefits the bigger economy.
Yes.
Well, you've been a wonderful guest, Mr. Paradza. We've come to the close of our time together. You've been an excellent guest. The insurance is a bit of a dry subject, which is a bit technical, so one needs to really maybe listen to this podcast twice to grab the nuances of what you're talking about. For our purposes now, would you mind sharing your contacts in terms of maybe on social media and physically where you're located, so that people can get in touch with you for maybe a more detailed briefing, a more detailed consultation on the things you discussed?
Okay. Like I said, our company is called Red Hill Risk Solutions. We are in plot number 163/4, Unit 23, Gaborone International Commerce Park. Our number is 311-698201. And for inquiries, our email is info@redhill.co.bw. I think basically that's who we are and our contacts. You can contact us. We can provide you with our proposals. They are quite exciting, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Can I ask you to tell the listeners, look them straight in the camera, and ask them to subscribe to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast?
Oh, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter, I presume.
Not yet on Twitter.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. You've been an excellent guest.
Okay, thank you very much.